My name is Rebecca, and at 29, I thought I understood my place in my family. I was wrong. What happened at my brother's wedding in Nashville changed everything. And honestly, I'm still processing it all. If you're reading this, please upvote and let me know in the comments if you've dealt with similar family dynamics. Trust me, you won't believe how this unfolds. I grew up in a family where everything revolved around my older brother, Marcus. 3 years my senior, Marcus was the golden child who could do no wrong. Star quarterback in high school, full ride to Vanderbilt, charming smile that made everyone instantly love him. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the one who cleaned up messes, the one who sacrificed without being asked. Our parents, David and Linda Richardson, established the pattern early. When Marcus forgot his homework, I was sent to deliver it. When Marcus crashed his car at 17, I gave up my summer job savings to help with the deductible. When Marcus needed a suit for prom, my college fund took the hit. The message was always the same. Marcus's needs came first, and my job was to support him unconditionally. After college, I moved to Austin and built a career in software development. Through determination and countless overtime hours, I worked my way up from junior developer to senior engineering manager at a successful tech startup. My salary reached 6 figures by age 27, and I finally felt proud of what I had accomplished independently. Marcus, meanwhile, had struggled to find his footing after college. He bounced between sales jobs, each one supposedly just a stepping stone to something bigger. He lived in an expensive apartment in downtown Nashville that he couldn't afford, drove a BMW he was constantly behind on payments for, and maintained a lifestyle that far exceeded his actual income. Guess who became his safety net? It started small, as it always does. Rebecca, I'm a little short on rent this month. The commission check got delayed. Became a monthly occurrence. My car payment is due, and I won't get paid until Friday. Happens so often, I just added him as an authorized user on one of my credit cards for emergencies only. Those emergencies included designer clothes, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Las Vegas, and a watch that cost more than most people's monthly salary. When I questioned these purchases, Marcus had perfected the art of making me feel guilty for being materialistic and not understanding the importance of networking and image in sales. Our parents not only enabled this dynamic, but actively encouraged it. During family calls, Dad would say things like, "Rebecca, you know Marcus is going through a tough time. You've been so blessed with your career." Mom would add, "Family takes care of family, honey. Marcus would do the same for you." But Marcus had never done the same for me. When I was laid off briefly 2 years ago, did he offer support? No. He asked if I could still cover his car payment since his situation hadn't changed. When I had surgery last year and needed help during recovery, Marcus was too busy with work to visit, but not too busy to charge $1,000 on my credit card for a weekend getaway with his girlfriend. The girlfriend in question was Brittany, an Instagram influencer with 15,000 followers and expensive tastes. She was beautiful, bubbly, and completely convinced that Marcus was a successful businessman. He maintained this illusion by taking her to expensive restaurants and buying her designer gifts, all funded by my credit card. When Marcus announced their engagement 6 months ago, I felt a mixture of happiness for him and dread about what this would mean for my finances. Wedding expenses, honeymoon costs, setting up their household, I could already see the emergencies multiplying. The engagement party was my first warning sign. Held at an upscale venue in Nashville, it was far beyond Marcus's actual means. When I arrived, I was shocked to see the elaborate decorations, open bar, and catered dinner for 60 guests. "This must have cost a fortune," I mentioned to Mom. "Oh, Marcus wanted everything perfect for Brittany," she replied proudly. "He's been saving up." Later that evening, I discovered the truth when Marcus pulled me aside. "Rebecca, I need your help with something," he said, looking nervous for the first time all evening. "What kind of help?" "The party cost more than I expected. I had to put some of it on your card. I'll pay you back as soon as the commission checks start coming in consistently." I felt my stomach drop. "How much, Marcus?" "Around $8,000. But Rebecca, look how happy Brittany is. This night is perfect because of what you made possible." $8,000 for one party. Money I hadn't approved. Money that could have covered 3 months of my mortgage payments. "You charged $8,000 without asking me first?" "It was an emergency. The venue required payment up front, and my commission check was delayed again." "Marcus, this isn't sustainable. You need to start living within your actual means." His expression hardened. "Not everyone can be a tech genius making 6 figures, Rebecca. Some of us have to work harder for success. I thought family was supposed to support each other." That conversation should have been my wake-up call. Instead, I paid the $8,000 and tried to convince myself it was a one-time thing. Wedding planning would surely make Marcus more responsible about money. I was spectacularly wrong. Over the next 6 months, the emergencies escalated dramatically. Wedding venue deposit $4,000. Brittany's dress $3,000. Marcus's tuxedo and groomsmen gifts $2,000. Bachelor party in Miami $5,000. Each time, Marcus assured me it was the last time he would need help, and each time, our parents reinforced that I should be grateful to help my brother during such an important time in his life. The bachelor party was particularly galling. While Marcus and 8 friends spent a weekend in Miami staying in luxury hotels and partying at exclusive clubs, I worked overtime to finish a project that would secure my team's budget for the following year. His Instagram stories showed bottles of champagne that cost more than my weekly grocery budget, while I ate ramen noodles to offset the credit card charges he was racking up. When I mentioned my frustration to Mom, she said, "Rebecca, honey, this is Marcus's one wedding. Can't you just be happy for him?" I am happy for him, Mom, but I'm paying for a lifestyle he can't afford, and it's becoming unsustainable. Money isn't everything, dear. Family memories are priceless. Easy to say when it wasn't her money being spent. 3 weeks before the wedding, Marcus called with the biggest emergency yet. "Rebecca, we have a problem. The wedding planner just told us the final payment for everything is due next week. It's more than we anticipated." "How much more?" $15,000. I nearly dropped my phone. $15,000? Marcus, I can't just write a check for $15,000. "Please, Rebecca, Brittany will be devastated if we have to cancel or downgrade anything. This is our dream wedding." "Your dream wedding that I'm apparently paying for? You make so much money, and you don't even have kids or a mortgage on a house like normal people. What else are you spending it on?" The casual dismissal of my financial priorities and life choices stung. "Marcus, I do have a mortgage. I have student loans. I have retirement savings. I have goals for my money that don't include funding your wedding." "So, you're going to let my wedding be ruined because you're worried about your retirement?" "I'm saying that $15,000 is beyond what I can reasonably help with." The emotional manipulation that followed was masterful. Marcus talked about how this wedding meant everything to Brittany, how her family was already contributing so much, how embarrassed he would be if they had to make last-minute changes, how disappointed our parents would be if I let the family down during such an important time. After 3 hours of phone calls involving Marcus, our parents, and even Brittany crying on the phone about her dream wedding being ruined, I transferred the $15,000. That night, I sat in my apartment looking at my drastically reduced savings account and felt something break inside me. Over the past 6 months alone, I had spent over $40,000 on Marcus's wedding expenses. Money that was supposed to go toward a down payment on a larger house, money that was supposed to fund my own dreams and goals. But I consoled myself with the thought that once the wedding was over, things would go back to normal. Marcus would settle into married life, get serious about his career, and stop depending on me financially. The wedding weekend arrived, and I drove from Austin to Nashville with a carefully selected gift and a beautiful dress I had actually bought for myself. Despite everything, I was determined to be happy for my brother and welcome Brittany into the family with genuine warmth. The rehearsal dinner was held at an elegant restaurant in downtown Nashville. As I mingled with the guests, I couldn't help but notice the expensive details everywhere. The centerpieces alone probably cost more than most people spent on an entire dinner party. When I complimented the event coordinator, she mentioned that the flowers were flown in from Ecuador, and the wine was a special vintage the couple had selected. During dinner, I sat with my parents and some family friends. The conversation inevitably turned to how successful Marcus had become, and how lucky Brittany was to marry such an ambitious man. "Marcus has done so well for himself," gushed Mrs. Peterson, a family friend. "This wedding must have cost a fortune." "He's always been our ambitious one," Dad replied proudly. "He knows how to make things happen." I bit my tongue, but the irony was overwhelming. Marcus hadn't made anything happen. I had made it happen with my credit card and savings account. After dinner, Brittany's maid of honor, Jessica, approached me at the bar. "You must be Rebecca. Brittany has told me so much about you." "All good things, I hope," I replied, genuinely curious about what Brittany had said. "Oh yes, she's so grateful for everything you've done. She said Marcus's family has been incredibly generous with the wedding." "Marcus's family?" "Well, you know, helping with all the expenses. Brittany said Marcus told her his family had a wedding fund set aside for him. She thinks it's so sweet how your parents saved up for years to give him his dream wedding." My blood ran cold. Marcus had told Brittany that our parents had paid for the wedding. Not only was I being used financially, but I wasn't even getting credit for my sacrifice. According to the story Marcus had crafted, our parents were the generous ones, while I was just the sister who showed up to celebrate. I excused myself and found a quiet corner to process this information. Marcus had created an elaborate fiction where our parents were funding his lifestyle, which meant Brittany had no idea about the financial strain this was putting on me personally. She probably thought I was just along for the ride, benefiting from our family's supposed wealth. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. The venue was a historic mansion outside Nashville, with gardens that had been transformed into something from a fairy tale. As I watched the vendors setting up, I mentally calculated the cost of every detail. The floral arrangements alone probably cost more than my car payment. The bridal suite was bustling with activity. Brittany looked stunning in her $3,000 dress, surrounded by bridesmaids in matching robes that probably cost more than most people's entire wedding guest outfit. A professional makeup artist and hairstylist worked on the bridal party while a photographer captured every moment. "Rebecca!" Brittany called out when she saw me. "Come take a picture with me." As we posed together, she whispered, "Thank you for being such a wonderful sister-in-law. Marcus is so lucky to have family that supports his dreams." The comment hit me like a punch to the gut. She genuinely believed that supporting Marcus's dreams was something the whole family was doing together, not something I was doing alone while being taken for granted. The ceremony was beautiful, I'll admit that. Marcus looked handsome in his expensive tuxedo, Brittany was radiant, and their vows were heartfelt. For a moment, I allowed myself to feel happy that my money had contributed to such a meaningful day. That feeling lasted until the reception. The reception was held in a ballroom that had been decorated to rival a royal wedding. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, a band that probably cost more than most people's annual salary, and a bar that offered premium liquor brands I recognized from high-end restaurants. During cocktail hour, I overheard Brittany talking to her college friends about the wedding planning process. "Marcus was amazing through all of this," she was saying. "He told me not to worry about budget at all, that his family had everything covered. His parents are so generous. They saved up for years to give him the wedding of our dreams." One of her friends asked, "What do his parents do?" "They must be pretty successful to afford all this." "His dad is a middle manager at an insurance company, and his mom works part-time at a dental office," Brittany replied. "But they've been saving since Marcus was little. They wanted to make sure he could have a perfect wedding when the time came." I felt sick. Not only was Marcus allowing his new wife to believe a complete lie about our parents' financial situation, but he was setting up expectations for future financial support that would inevitably fall on me. What would happen when Brittany wanted to buy a house and expected his generous parents to help with the down payment? During dinner, I sat at the family table with our parents, Marcus's college friends, and their wives. The conversation was full of praise for the beautiful wedding and speculation about Marcus's future success. "This wedding is just the beginning," said James, Marcus's former roommate. "Marcus always lands on his feet. I bet he'll be running his own company within 5 years." Our dad beamed with pride. "That's our Marcus. He's always been ambitious." Meanwhile, I was mentally calculating that the dinner we were eating probably cost more per person than I typically spent on groceries in a week. When it came time for toasts, the best man went first with a humorous speech about Marcus's college antics. Then our father stood up, looking emotional. "I want to thank everyone for being here to celebrate Marcus and Brittany," he began. "Watching my son build the life he's always dreamed of has been one of the greatest joys of my life. Marcus has always been determined to succeed, and seeing him marry the love of his life in such a beautiful celebration is everything a father could hope for." The crowd applauded warmly. I noticed he didn't mention anything about who had actually made this beautiful celebration possible. Next, Marcus stood up to thank everyone. His speech was eloquent and heartfelt, thanking his parents for their unwavering support, thanking Brittany's family for welcoming him with open arms, and thanking his friends for being part of this incredible journey. He never mentioned me. Not once in his 5-minute speech did Marcus acknowledge my financial contribution to the wedding. According to his narrative, this magical day had happened through his hard work, our parents' generosity, and the love of family and friends. I had apparently been erased from the story entirely. As the evening progressed, I found myself feeling increasingly invisible and resentful. Every toast, every comment about how successful Marcus was, every compliment about the beautiful wedding felt like a knife twist. I had funded this entire celebration, yet I was being treated like a background character in someone else's success story. The final straw came during the bouquet toss. All the single women gathered on the dance floor while Brittany prepared to throw her bouquet. I reluctantly joined the group, mostly to avoid drawing attention to myself by staying seated. As Brittany turned around to toss the bouquet, she called out, "This one's for all you single ladies who are waiting for your prince to come. Remember, the best things in life are worth waiting and saving for." The bouquet sailed through the air and in a cosmic joke, landed directly in my hands. The crowd cheered and laughed as I stood there holding the symbol of future marital bliss. Brittany ran over and hugged me, beaming. "Rebecca, this is perfect. You're next," she exclaimed. "And when you get married, I'm sure your parents will throw you just as beautiful a wedding as they did for Marcus." The comment was innocent, but it highlighted everything wrong with the situation. Brittany genuinely believed our parents had paid for this wedding and would presumably do the same for me. She had no idea that I had funded her fairy tale wedding, and she was now suggesting that our parents, who had never contributed a single dollar to Marcus's expenses, would somehow magically have money for my future wedding. I forced a smile and posed for photos with the bouquet, but inside I was dying. The symbolism was crushing. I was holding the flowers from a wedding I had paid for, surrounded by people praising my brother's success and our parents' generosity, while being completely erased from the narrative of my own sacrifice. After the bouquet toss, I stepped outside for some air. The garden was quiet, offering a peaceful contrast to the celebration inside. I sat on a bench and tried to process my emotions. That's when I overheard a conversation that changed everything. Brittany's parents were talking with another couple near the garden entrance, and their voices carried clearly in the night air. "Such a beautiful wedding," the other woman was saying. "Marcus's family must be very well off." "That's what we thought initially," Brittany's mother replied. "But when we offered to contribute to the wedding expenses, Marcus insisted that his family had everything covered. He said his parents had been saving for this day since he was born." "How wonderful that they could give their son such a gift," the man commented. "It is lovely," Brittany's father agreed. Though I have to admit, we were a bit surprised by the scale of everything. David works in insurance and Linda works part-time at a dental office. We're not sure how they afforded all this, but Marcus insisted they wanted to handle everything themselves. My heart stopped. Brittany's parents had offered to contribute to the wedding expenses, but Marcus had turned them down, claiming our parents had everything covered. He had rejected actual help from people who could afford it in favor of continuing to exploit me financially. "Marcus seems very confident about his finances," the woman observed. "He must be doing very well in his career." There was a pause before Brittany's mother responded. "We hope so. Brittany mentioned that he's been between jobs recently, but he assured us he has several promising opportunities lined up." Between jobs. Marcus was currently unemployed, and I had been funding not just his wedding, but his basic living expenses, while he rejected financial help from Brittany's well-off family to maintain the illusion that our modest-income parents were wealthy. I sat in the garden for another 20 minutes, pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place. Marcus had created an elaborate fiction where our parents were successful enough to fund a $50,000 wedding, which meant he could continue taking money from me while appearing to come from a wealthy family. Meanwhile, he had rejected actual help from people who could afford it, because accepting their money would have required honesty about his financial situation. When I returned to the reception, I looked around with new eyes. Every expensive detail, every luxury touch, every element that made this wedding perfect had been paid for by my hard work and sacrifice, while credit was being given to people who had contributed nothing, and praise was being heaped on a man who had manipulated everyone involved. The band was playing romantic ballads as couples swayed on the dance floor. Marcus and Brittany looked blissful in the center, lost in their own world. Our parents sat at their table, beaming with pride at their son's success. Brittany's family mingled happily, impressed by our family's apparent generosity. And I stood there, holding a bouquet from a wedding I had funded, surrounded by a celebration of lies. The last hour of the reception passed in a blur. I went through the motions of congratulating the couple, hugging relatives, and making small talk, but my mind was racing. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, I realized I had reached a turning point. For years, I had enabled Marcus's financial irresponsibility because I loved him and wanted to help. I had told myself that family was supposed to support each other, that my success meant I should share it with those I cared about. But tonight had shown me the truth. I wasn't helping Marcus succeed. I was enabling him to live a lie. And that lie was hurting not just me, but everyone around us. As I said goodbye to the happy couple, Brittany hugged me tightly. "Thank you for everything, Rebecca. Having you as a sister-in-law means the world to me." "Thank you for welcoming me into the family," I replied, meaning it despite everything. Marcus's goodbye was more casual. "Thanks for being here, sis. It means a lot." No acknowledgement of the financial sacrifice, no gratitude for making his dream wedding possible, just a casual thanks for showing up. The drive back to Austin gave me 4 hours to think. By the time I reached my apartment, I had made a decision that would change everything. Monday morning, I called my credit card company and removed Marcus as an authorized user. Then I called my bank and canceled the automatic transfers that had been supplementing his income. Finally, I sent Marcus a text message. "Congratulations again on the beautiful wedding. I need to let you know that I've closed your access to my credit card and stopped the monthly transfers. It's time for you to build your financial independence as a married man. I love you and believe in your ability to succeed on your own." His response came within minutes. "Are you serious right now? I'm on my honeymoon." I didn't reply. Over the next week, my phone buzzed constantly with messages from Marcus, our parents, and even Brittany. The tone progressed from confusion to anger to desperation as the reality of their situation became clear. "Rebecca, this is the worst possible timing. I have bills due and no income coming in." Honey, Marcus says you've cut off his financial support? Surely this is just a misunderstanding? Rebecca, I don't understand what's happening. Can we talk about this like adults? Rebecca, I'm confused. Marcus says there's been some kind of financial mix-up with the family money. That last message was particularly telling. Marcus still hadn't told his wife the truth about who had been supporting them financially. I responded to each of them with the same message. I love Marcus and want the best for his marriage. Part of that means stepping back so he can build his own financial stability. I'm confident he can succeed on his own. The real explosion came 2 weeks later when Marcus's rent was due and his credit card was declined. He called me 15 times in one day, leaving increasingly frantic voicemails. Rebecca, I know you're mad about something, but I can't figure out what I did wrong. Please call me back so we can work this out. Rebecca, this is getting ridiculous. I'm going to be evicted if you don't transfer money for rent. Fine, don't help with rent, but at least put me back on the credit card. Brittany is asking questions I can't answer. Rebecca, please? I'm begging you. I'll do anything you want. Just please don't let my marriage fall apart over money. I didn't respond to any of the calls. 3 weeks after the wedding, I received a call from our mother. Rebecca, you need to come home. We need to have a family meeting about this situation. What situation, Mom? Marcus has told us everything. About the wedding expenses, about the monthly support, everything. We had no idea how much you'd been helping him. So Marcus had finally been forced to tell the truth. I can drive up this weekend, I agreed. The family meeting was held at our parents' house the following Saturday. Marcus looked terrible, unshaven, stressed, and clearly not sleeping well. Our parents looked shocked and embarrassed as they slowly learned the full extent of my financial support over the years. Rebecca, Dad began, we owe you an enormous apology. We had no idea Marcus was depending on you financially to this extent. We feel terrible, Mom added. If we had known you were paying for so much, we never would have encouraged you to keep helping. Marcus sat silently through their apologies, looking increasingly uncomfortable as the reality of his situation was laid bare. The wedding alone cost you over $40,000? Dad asked, still processing the numbers. Closer to $50,000, including all the pre-wedding expenses, I clarified. Marcus, Mom said, turning to him with disappointment clear in her voice, how could you let your sister pay for your entire wedding without telling us? I was going to pay her back, he mumbled. I always intended to pay her back. With what money? I asked gently. You've been unemployed for 3 months, and even when you were working, you never paid me back for previous expenses. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this truth. What's your plan now? Dad asked Marcus directly. I don't know, Marcus admitted. Brittany doesn't understand why the family money suddenly disappeared. She thinks there's been some kind of mistake or misunderstanding. I don't know how to explain that Rebecca was paying for everything without making myself look like a complete failure. You need to tell her the truth, I said firmly. She deserves to know the real financial situation she's married into. She'll leave me, Marcus said quietly. If she finds out I've been lying about our finances, she'll realize I'm not the successful man she thought she married. Then you need to become the successful man she thought she married, Mom said, with more steel in her voice than I'd heard in years. You need to get a job, any job, and start supporting your own household. It's not that easy, Marcus protested. The job market is competitive, and I need time to find the right opportunity. Marcus, I said, looking directly at him, you're 29 years old. You've spent the last several years living off my income while maintaining a lifestyle you couldn't afford. That ends now. You need to get any job you can find and start building real financial stability. So you're just abandoning me? Just cutting me off completely? I'm not abandoning you. I'm stopping enabling you. There's a big difference. Our parents, to their credit, supported my decision completely once they understood the situation. Your sister is right, Dad told Marcus. We raised you to be independent and responsible. Somehow along the way, you lost sight of those values. Rebecca has her own goals and dreams, Mom added. She shouldn't have to sacrifice her future to fund your lifestyle. The conversation continued for 2 more hours, with Marcus alternating between anger, desperation, and occasional moments of clarity. By the end, he had reluctantly agreed to look for any available job and to have an honest conversation with Brittany about their finances. 6 months have passed since that family meeting, and the changes have been dramatic. Marcus did eventually tell Brittany the truth about their finances. According to him, she was initially shocked and hurt by the deception, but ultimately decided to stay and work through it together. They moved from his expensive downtown apartment to a modest duplex they could actually afford. Marcus found a job in retail management. Not glamorous, but steady income with room for growth. Brittany had to adjust her lifestyle expectations significantly. The Instagram posts featuring expensive restaurants and luxury items stopped abruptly. Instead, she began sharing content about budget-friendly date nights and DIY home improvement projects. To her credit, she seemed to be adapting well to their new reality. The most surprising change was in Marcus himself. Having to live within his actual means forced him to develop financial discipline he'd never had before. He started budgeting carefully, cooking at home instead of eating out constantly, and actually seemed to take pride in providing for his household through his own work. Our parents were mortified when they fully understood how the family dynamic had developed over the years. They began treating Marcus and me with much more equality, no longer automatically assuming he needed special help or that I should provide it. "We failed both of you," Mom told me during a private conversation. "We taught Marcus to expect help without reciprocating, and we taught you that your value came from what you could provide to others." As for me, I used my newfound financial freedom to pursue goals I'd been putting off for years. I put a down payment on a larger house with a beautiful garden. I took a photography course I'd always wanted to try. I even started dating more seriously, no longer constantly worried about family financial emergencies. The most important change was in my relationship with money itself. For years, I had viewed my income as something to be shared, as if my success created an obligation to support others. Now I understood that my success was mine to enjoy and invest in my own future. There were still moments of guilt, especially when I saw how much Marcus and Brittany were struggling to adjust to their new budget. But I reminded myself that their struggle was temporary and necessary. They were building real financial skills and a sustainable lifestyle, something that never would have happened if I had continued enabling their dependence. My relationship with Marcus slowly began to improve as he adjusted to his new reality. 3 months after he started his new job, he sent me a text that meant more than all his previous apologies combined. "Rebecca, I want you to know that I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. Working for everything I have is harder, but it feels better. I'm proud of what Brittany and I are building together, and I know it's only possible because you forced me to grow up. Thank you." Looking back on the wedding that changed everything, I realized it was never really about the money. It was about respect, honesty, and the difference between helping someone and enabling them. By funding Marcus's unsustainable lifestyle, I had been preventing him from developing the skills and character he needed to succeed on his own. The wedding was beautiful, and I'm genuinely glad that Marcus and Brittany had the celebration they wanted. But more importantly, the crisis that followed the wedding forced our entire family to confront unhealthy patterns that had been developing for decades. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to rescue them from the consequences of their choices. Sometimes family means setting boundaries, not removing them. And sometimes the person you need to save is yourself. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for reading. I know it's long, but these family dynamics developed over years and couldn't be untangled quickly. If you're dealing with similar financial manipulation from family members, please know that it's okay to set boundaries. You're not responsible for funding other people's dreams at the expense of your own. Please share your own experiences in the comments. Have you dealt with family members who expected ongoing financial support? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear from others who have navigated these difficult waters. And if this story resonated with you, please upvote and share it. Sometimes we all need to hear that it's okay to prioritize our own financial well-being, even when family pressure suggests otherwise. The journey from enabler to boundary setter wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Today, I have a family that respects me, a brother who is learning to stand on his own, and a life that belongs fully to me. Sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the strongest relationships. Thank you for listening to my story. May you find the courage to set healthy boundaries in your own life, whatever that looks like for your situation.